I don't ever want people to think that they know what kind of role I can play, I guess is the dream.
Ahoy.
Ahoy.
Hello. Hi, Harris. How are you?
I'm well. How are you,
Welcome,
Tina?
welcome. Surviving, thriving even.
Surviving? Whoa. Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
What about you? Where are you?
I'm in London.
Okay.
In East
Ooh,
London.
excellent. I'm up in Newcastle right now.
Oh, nice. Are you working up there?
I live in Newcastle and Venice Beach, so there's like a
Really?
yin and yang in my life, which is pretty bizarre.
What? Yeah, quite polar opposites.
Yeah, absolutely. Good balance. Good for balance. Good for keeping my head in the right sort of world. But thank you so much for joining me. I'm Tina Gharavi, a director, writer, showrunner who's in the BAFTA Newcomer program, actually 4th year in LA. And I guess this is tea with you, Harris Dickinson, whose work I love.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, I mean, you've done amazing stuff for someone so young, for obviously The Kingsman, which is congratulations. That's a huge film. That's like British star power right there, right? But I love your small movies. I love Beach Rats. I really, really love County Lines, which is a film that I felt didn't get enough attention. It kind of seemed to have gotten lost a little. That you were superb in that. What made you want to be an actor? Like what kind of crazy person would do this?
Would subject themselves to this? No.
Yeah.
I guess I have always been interested in telling stories. I used to make short films, and I had a web series when I was in school that I used to release weekly episodes on, and it was like a sketch show, a comedy show. So I loved making people laugh. I enjoyed sort of captivating people. I don't think I was the most like outlandish, garish kid, but when I could perform or put on a performance or put on a film, it made me feel empowered. You know, it made me feel like I had a voice. It made me feel like I had a purpose. And I guess it gave me a platform to, you know, release all of that and release this sort of these desires and fantasies. And I think coming out of a sort of, you know, fairly mundane, mediocre area and sort of suburban lifestyle, you want to see outside of it, and cinema gave me that and theater gave me that. So yeah, I think all of that combined made me want to like get into it properly, you know.
Yeah. Who was kind of giving you a sense of possibility, or like helping you have an imagination, or was that entirely self-built?
I don't know. I guess my parents were always really supportive of me, you know, having that kind of imagination, and my mum and stuff used to talk to me about my ideas, and they'd never dismiss me or never.
Oh, amazing.
I think my mum was such a vital part of that, because she would, you know, at a time where any other parent could have said to their kids, you know, stop running around the forest with a camera and go and do something that's going to, you know, benefit you in the long run. Whereas she would encourage me, and she would come and sit down in my room whilst I was, you know, editing things and watching things, and she'd be like, oh, you should try this, or, you know, you should watch this film, or, you know, listen to this soundtrack, or and so I had that, and I'm very fortunate that I had that. But at the same time, they didn't know the industry, they didn't know how to get into it, so I had to rely on somewhat myself, but also people that was my, you know, were my teachers and stuff, and my theatre coach Graham Bryan, who was a massive influence and a massive you know, part of my journey. He was someone who really encouraged me. So yeah, I was lucky that I had people around me to sort of encourage me, but no one sort of gave me like a a leg up as such, I
No,
suppose.
that's fantastic. And I always like, I always cringe when it's difficult when you see people doing it and their parents did it and you're like, oh gosh, that's nice for you. I love that for you. But
Mm.
I really love finding that in your background is like, yeah, you're the first of your family doing it and it's yours and you're carving your way. So chapeau to you on that. Where are stories not coming to you that you would love? Is horror film or that kind of
Mm.
a character that takes you out of how you've seen you before?
I don't think there is ever that thing in me. I genuinely, I don't know. I just feel like
Mhm.
I know what I don't want to do. It can be with great people, but I will have this feeling that it's not right for me.
Does it need to be a little bit dangerous? Is that
Yeah,
or like something that like frightens you about a job before you're willing to commit to it?
yeah, definitely. I think I want to be challenged, like everyone. I want to make progressions, not only within like my career, but within myself.
What in terms of cinema ignited your imagination about storytelling? Because definitely you're a maker as well as an actor.
I guess when I was young, there wasn't any. The only cinema that was nearby was an Odeon, and that was obviously like a multiplex, like big screen
Mhm.
cinema. So that was more like blockbusters. And I remember seeing The Dark Knight and all of those Batman films with Christian Bale. So my actor growing up was Christian Bale because that was like
Right.
my Batman, and that was my, Gary Oldman, and then investigating into Gary Oldman's work. And then I think as I've gotten older, I've had a real, my mum and dad were really sort of good at putting me onto a lot of like British social realism, a lot of Ken Loach,
Mhm.
Mike Lee's Naked and Abigail's
Mm.
Party. And
Is there a story that only you can tell that is only your voice in that filmmaking role?
no, I've never wanted to act in my own stuff. I've obviously written and directed and stuff, and I'm working on projects, but I've never really thought that was possible. I know it is. I know people do it. I
Mhm.
know people do it very well, but I personally like having the escape from acting. I don't always find it the healthiest headspace to be in. So I think switching over and just isolating the one is probably a better call.
I think actors are the bravest of souls, and I think they're writers. I think ultimately actors are writers because they're writing with themselves in that moment with text that they've been given, but they're always giving a take that is above what's on that page.
But there's a different kind of vulnerability with what you do, because it's
Mhm.
like you're having to take something that is yours, that is here, and not only share it with each,
Mhm.
department, but you're also having to like put it on the line to be
Yeah.
scrutinized. And I guess performance is like that, but it doesn't belong to me.
I guess it's shared responsibility actually, and that's
Mm.
why I love filmmaking. I started out as a painter, but I ended up a filmmaker because it's collaborative. It's
Yeah,
very much about all of us, bringing our energies together on this one, you know, colossal, play
yeah,
that
yeah.
essentially we film in little bits. What advice would you give someone who's maybe watching this and seeing what you've done and where you've gotten to? What would you say to your younger self, or what would you say to someone who's starting out in terms of their journey to go
Um,
into storytelling? I mean,
yeah. I think the one thing that I've learned um as I'm getting older, and as I'm sort of coming into myself in this industry, I feel like I used to put so much pressure on myself, and I used to feel like, I've got to get this to this point at a certain time, or I've got to get this achievement at this time, and there was all this pressure, and it was unnecessary. And
mhm,
really, the process is the most important thing. working
Trusting the
hard,
process. Yeah,
trusting
trusting
the
that.
process, and just
Yeah.
remaining curious, which is something I've never, struggled with, and I've always tried to be open and curious. But I think that's yeah, we never stop learning. So there's no point where you reach it and you're like, oh, I'm done, I'm here, I've
Yeah.
gotten, I've achieved it.
I know, I'm sure you've worked with some great actors like Angelina Jolie and Ray Fiennes, and I'm sure you've gotten advice from them or watched them, you learned things from them. What is one thing you learned from them, and then one thing that you've learned that you feel like you can pass on?
In terms of being on set, and it goes back to what I was talking about earlier, and with having a lot going on, it's a very strange thing. And I was talking about this with a director the other day, and it's like, your acting is a very strange, vulnerable thing. Performing in general is a very vulnerable thing, especially in front of people that you don't know. And so you kind of have to do a lot to like protect yourself and create that bubble at times. People are going through a lot of nerves, and they just want to try and calm themselves and isolate themselves, and yeah, that's definitely something that helps me.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Well, I really look forward to seeing what you do next. I think you're hugely talented, and
Yeah.
I'm looking for a reason to come knocking on your door to be like, Harris, I got this crazy thing happening in Newcastle. You gotta come. Um, you
I
know,
prefer Venice
good
Beach, if
luck.
I'm honest. I'm
Good
joking.
luck.
I'm joking.
I'm gonna find you. Don't worry.
It's been really nice talking to you. I
Cheers.
appreciate you taking the
Thank
time.
you.
Really.
No worries. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
All
See you
right.
soon.
All the
Take
best.
care.
Soon.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.